Judge. It's becoming must-see TV.
Cody Bellinger, you are ridiculous.
You do not want to miss any at-bats he has.
Has Cody Bellinger done it again? Of course he has.
Aaron is judge and jury.
Aaron Judge is doing it better than anyone in the game right now.
Is it time for maybe his name to be mentioned as an MVP candidate?
Both these youngsters have taken baseball by the storm. I'm over here in Studio 42, kind of go through their stances. The biggest thing I've seen with them, they haven't changed since they were younger, and that allowed them both to be consistent. And Judge kind of went back to that. He got to this position to hit, and Bellinger's starting here. Let's take a look at Cody first. Now, here's the thing I like about Bellinger. I was just talking about not changing. When I saw him stand in this upright position, I said, uh-oh, it's going to have some holes. And you got to be perfect to get in there. Then he kept blistering balls and pulling them. But there's one little hole right there. You see that blue inside all that big red? If you can get it in there, you better not miss. You might have a chance of being successful. But if you don't hit that spot, man, it's got to be perfect, or you're going to pay for it. And they paid for it 24 times this year to right field and left field so far this season. So what have they done? They've tried to stay away from him a little bit lately. And that's why he's had some streaks where he's been cold, but he stayed hot. Now he's back in another one of those making adjustments. But if you miss those little simple spots, he's going to hurt you. Your best bet, stay away. You might keep him in the ballpark, and that's been the biggest difference. But, hey, he reminds me of Ted Williams. He's consistent, the splendid splinter. Why? Well, he looks a little bit like Ted, doesn't he? The little youngster, skinny as can be. But let's go back to look at him in high school. Now, remember, they took him in the 4th round out of high school. And look at the stance. I talked about not changing when you were younger to being older. And look at the little bit. He said earlier when we spoke with him that they gave him a little bit of a hitch. That right there, that gives him a little bit more power. But for the most part, he's been the same hitter. And when you struggle, you go back to your basics. Going back to your basics is what Aaron Judge did. Let's go look at Aaron Judge. He struggled in 16 towards the end of the year, but he went back to the basics. Here's what I mean. His story, he was going to go to Fresno State, play football. He's on a recruiting trip, and he goes by the baseball field, and the baseball coach sees him take a swing and said, hey, you got a scholarship. That's how he ended up in baseball, because the big man can go get it. Imagine him playing football. So he took off Fresno State, got to the minor leagues, and shot through the minors. Oh, Judgment Day came. He got called up, and what's he do? Hitting home runs early on in 2016. But he struggled, and everybody wondered, is he going to be able to hit and cut down on the strikeouts? Note here, the leg kick. He didn't have this in college. He got this little bit of a leg kick, and look where his hands are at. All of a sudden, his hands have to get back to a position to hit. Just way too much movement for Aaron Judge. So what do? You go back to the woodshed of what made you successful. 2017 should not shock us because he went back to the basics. If you look at him in college, he had the flat bat, but once he got rid of this flat bat right here and got to start his swing, what's the position he gets into? And it's going to look very familiar to 2017. Right there, that strong pose and just a little bit of a leg swing, not a leg kick. A little moderated leg swing. So look at now where his hands are at. This is where he starts. Just take away that first part of the swing, and basically you got his college stroke. And now the grown man has grown into his body, and he's more consistent. He's had 1,000-some swings out of this position. Again, I'm going to go to the college. All right, get rid of that and get to that power part, and you get right here. Look at that. He reminds me of, friend, you'll love this, Jack Clark. Hello? Yes, he does. So getting back to it, look, I played a number of years with Ken Griffey Jr., and one of the things that impressed me about Griffey is they said, leave him alone. Don't mess with him. It reminds me a lot of these two guys. Leave him alone. So Griffey came up there. He's 17 years old doing this. He's not going to hit like that. They left him alone, and he's a Hall of Famer. Leave these two alone, and they're just getting started.